All right, we're going to talk about emotional eating right now. And as far as emotional eating goes, there are two reasons why people eat food. One is physical reasons, and one is emotional reasons. In general, Americans, we tend to eat more food than we really need to eat. We have a lot of food in our society, and so we're eating for reasons other than that we're hungry, okay? And so now some of those reasons are good reasons, like family get-together. Sometimes eating is associated with the family sitting down, connecting. It's associated with love. People cooking food for other people and eat and that's something that people attach eating with. Some people eat food when they're stressed. Some people eat food as comfort when they're grieving. Some people eat food to procrastinate. I do this one. Okay, some people eat when they drive. I'm a victim of that too. As far as it goes, a lot of people just eat for different reasons. They have other reasons they're eating other than the actual hunger that they're feeling. And so I read this book called Diets Don't Work, and in the book the gentleman was looking like what are the reasons for people being overweight, and he studied a lot of overweight people, and he asked them, like, when do you eat, like when's the time to eat? And he found that the more people he asked, he got more and more reasons why they ate, and different reasons why, and everyone was different. There wasn't any timeline. Like some people like, oh, I eat for this reason, or I eat for this reason. So then what he did is he said, well, why am I studying overweight people? I want to find ways for people to be thin. So he's like, I'm going to start studying thin people, and he started asking, naturally thin people, people who is like, well, when do you eat? And what he found with naturally thin people is that he got one answer, and the answer that they would say is, when I'm hungry. When else would I eat? Okay, and so understand that if you're one of those people who just, if that doesn't make sense to you, if you don't emotionally eat, then it's weird. It's like, what do you mean you eat when you're procrastinating? That doesn't make sense. So you're not the people I'm talking to, so you're good. Keep that way. But you want to maybe watch the rest of this video to catch yourself if you do start emotionally eating, attaching food to emotions, right? The difference, he talked about in the book that I was reading, he talked about the difference between, he's like, you ever know someone who just eats and eats and eats and they just never gain any weight? Okay, like they eat the most unhealthy food, they eat tons of food. Every time you see them, like they're going to like a fast food place, or they're eating, candy or chocolate or something, and they just don't gain weight. Okay, well, part of that is metabolism, I will tell you. When you're in your teens and your early 20s, your metabolism is a lot higher than when you get to your late 20s and 30s. So part of it is definitely metabolism. But the other thing is that you understand, when those people eat that way, they eat that way for a certain amount of time, and then they stop eating. Okay, they talk about in the book I was reading is the difference between naturally thin people will eat until they aren't hungry anymore. Okay, so they're saying things like, well, I'm just not hungry. It's like, well, you want something to eat? No, I'm not hungry. That's what they say. He's like, overweight people, what they will tend to do is they'll eat until they're full, or they'll eat until the emotion goes away. All right, so it's just kind of how it goes, and so they'll continue eating. Like sometimes we feel we need to clean the plate. Okay, I know that's how I grew up. It's like, eat everything on your plate. All right, so as kids don't eat that way. Kids that as soon as they're done, they're not hungry anymore. It's a pain in the neck to get them to eat. And what do we do? Like, eat more, eat. And it's like, well, they're not hungry. So point being is we almost force that. In my family it was like that. Like, well, you have to clean your plate, and so over time, these extra causes, like, oh, they eat, I have to clean my plate, I have to eat this whole, like, I've caught myself eating a bag of, like, chips and, like, just trying to finish it, It's like, I'm just going to finish this bag. And it's like, why? And so just throw it away, Sometimes you're like, oh, I would never throw away extra food. Like, that's an emotion, too. Like, I can't throw food away. There's people in, Africa who are starving. It's like, well, this bag of chips is not going to go to them anyway, so it's better for it to be in the garbage than to be in my body and to harm me. So throw it away. All right. So point being is, so over time we have these emotional things, and we try to eat till we're finished or whatever. So this adds to gaining of weight, and so and it can turn out to be a vicious cycle too, especially if you eat because you're stressed, or because you eat because you don't feel good about yourself, and it's a comfort food. Well, if you're stressed, or you're upset about how you look, or about what's going on, or your energy levels, or you don't feel like going out, and you're like, I don't know what's going on with me anymore, and you're upset because of that stuff, and then And then for that reason, you start eating more, okay? And and the food is comfort food, and so therefore, it's a very vicious cycle there. And so it turns out this turns into you having less energy, less desire to go out and hang out with friends because you either don't like the way you look or you don't have the energy to do it. You exercise less because you don't have energy to exercise, and eventually your grades are going to start hurting, and people have dropped out for these reasons, as we spoke about before. So again, it's not everyone, but you just want to be aware. And so here are some tips to help you to keep track on if this is happening to you. First tip is to acknowledge the reasons that you eat. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Real quick exercise. So you're gonna pause the video, and when I say pause, okay, and what I want you to do is take a pen or a paper. You can go grab them. Pause it now if you want to. And I want you to take a pen and paper, and I want you to just take 1 minute, take 2 minutes, however long you need. And I want you to think about the common times that you eat. Okay, like when do you eat? Like it could be, do you eat in the morning? Do you eat at night? Do you have a certain time that you have to eat? Do you eat when you're watching TV? Do you eat when you need a break? When you're just studying and you're like, oh man, I need a break. I'm gonna go get something to eat. Is that a normal reaction to you? Do you eat after the gym or before the gym? When you drive, whatever. Okay, like you have to put some time and thought into it. Well, don't put a lot of time, but just think of the reasons why you tend to eat. Okay, and really think about it. And I've kind of already gone through it. Hopefully you've written them down already, but if you need to pause the video now. Okay, so now, if this was really hard, okay, if like you did that for a minute or so and it was like, I don't know when I really eat, I just eat when I'm hungry. Great, you're, like I said, good for you. Okay, you're on the right path, all right? If you wrote down a couple of things, you're like, you know what, I always tend to eat here, or I eat here, or I eat when I procrastinate, or I eat, late at night. Great, congratulations to you too. At least now you can acknowledge that. And the first step is actually knowing that, and knowing the concepts of when you actually eat. I know personally, when I drive to work, I don't feel the need to eat, but when I drive home from work, I feel the need to eat. I don't know why that is, and even if I eat something right before I leave my office, on the drive home, I'll always want to stop and get something to eat. So since I know that, and what I usually stop and get to eat is not anything healthy, so what I did is I started buying bags of clementines. Okay, and I put a bag of clementines in my car, and I'd eat that on the way home, and so I'd eat 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. I eat a lot of clementines. All right, so at least I was eating something healthy. I started bringing water into my car to help me to just have something, to drink. Or I started chewing gum. Also, I did that too for a little bit. But you just don't want to chew gum on an empty stomach. So, but just knowing that, helped me get over that. So, look at some other notes here. So again, just knowing that when you eat is very important, and also you'll notice that your emotional eating, if you don't realize, if you need help with that, if you need help with emotional eating, or zoning out, because when people eat, they tend to zone out, especially people who eat emotionally. So if you're watching TV, here's how you know if you're eating emotionally. If you've ever had this happen to you, where you sit down, you sit in front of the TV, you're getting ready to do some notes or take, work on your paper or watch YouTube or whatever it is you're doing, and you have a bag of chips or a bag of cookies or something, or a box of cookies, and you're just you're eating and you're like, where did that go? Okay, where did it go? All of a sudden the food's gone. You're like, what happened? All right, so that just means your brain, you weren't tasting the food, you were just eating it. I've personally, because I've had weight issues also, I've eaten food, and while I'm eating food, I'm thinking about the next thing I'm gonna eat. As soon as I finish this, I'm gonna get some sushi. Really? I'm not even focused. So, and it doesn't. You don't eat the food. You just put it in. You don't even taste it really. And so a way to help you with this is to just be aware and be conscious of your eating when you're eating. When you're eating, be conscious of what you're doing, so you don't zone out and eat a whole bag of chips. Right? And by the way, the purpose of these videos is not to say you have to be health crazy, wheatgrass every morning, do cleanses, and you don't have to go crazy, become vegetarian, this and that. That's not the point. Okay, so if you want to eat some cookies, great, eat some cookies, but actually eat a cookie. Take the cookie, eat the cookie, think about it as you're eating, focus on eating the cookie and enjoy it. Enjoy enjoy the cookie. Okay, I guarantee you, if you enjoy each bite that you're eating, and if you enjoy each thing as you're eating something, and if you actually are conscious of it, then you won't need to eat a whole box, all right? Because you're focused, you're in the moment, as opposed to zoning out and doing something else while you're eating. You know, also try to avoid doing other things while you're eating. If you're eating, stop what you're doing and eat, and then stop eating, and then go and do something else and focus on what you're doing. Focus on the task at hand, as opposed to kind of writing the paper and just, you know. Okay, doing that is just going to continually put on the pounds. And so, you know, I hope this helped for those of you who emotionally eat.